If a player intentionally or recklessly puts another player in a position to get seriously injured, it needs to be a minimum 25-game suspension. On Christmas Day, we saw Lou Dort with an extremely dirty play against Victor Wembanyama. Let's play the clip. So you can see right there, he crashes into Victor's knee, and then Victor goes down because he pulls him down. So playing it one more time, we see Victor battling for position. Lou Dort comes in seemingly to go for the rebound, but then when we watch him, that's not what he's doing. So he goes in, slams his leg up against Victor's leg, and then Victor's still upright after that happens. So what Lou Dort does is he pulls him down and he sweeps Victor, and then we have Victor going to the ground, and then he's hit his shin. So you can see Victor reacting to his shin being hit, but that's a very, very dirty play. Of course, there's no place for this in the game. And right here, this should be suspended for the season because you can't have this whatsoever. So the NBA, the very fact that the NBA tolerates this is surprising just in their own self-interest. Why would you let another player walk around intentionally trying to harm another player? And even if he argues, I didn't do it on purpose, it doesn't matter. If you're that reckless, then we can't have you playing basketball anyway. Let's look at a play from last season. We have the Grizzlies on a fast break. Lou Dort is running to catch up to the fast break. Once Ja Morant goes airborne, Lou Dort undercuts him. So let's play the clip. All right, so that's extremely dangerous and unnecessary. And let's go ahead and take back the playback speed just so you can see how bad this was. So here we have it. Ja Morant goes up. Lou Dort completely undercuts him. And then Ja Morant goes down. Let's see if we can get a replay, if they're going to replay it. Yeah, so I don't see an immediate replay here, but Ja Morant got up, Victor Wembanyama got up, but that's not the point. The point is that Lou Dort is actively engaged in playing dirty, and there's a real chance that he is going to seriously injure someone if this continues up in the next few years. And so the NBA needs to have a suspension not based on whether a player gets hurt or not, but whether there's actually intent or reckless play that's going to lead to another player get injured. And there was a comment on a Reddit thread that was 100% right. This comment reads, I don't understand how the NBA allows Lou Dort to keep doing this. There's only one Luka, there's only one Wemby. Lou Dort could leave the NBA tomorrow and literally no one would care. It's insane that he's allowed to keep injuring the stars that drive the league. Yeah, so even from a selfish standpoint, it doesn't make sense that the NBA would let anybody do this to their stars. And here you have Victor Wembanyama, who is the biggest of stars, and Lou Dort just tried to undercut him. So is the NBA actually going to do anything? And it's a 1 to 2 game suspension doesn't mean anything. That's not equal to the harm that Lou Dort presented, right? There is a real percentage chance here that Victor Wembanyama is out for the season because of a dirty play. So just because he doesn't get injured, that doesn't mean that you should still have the same reaction. So it doesn't mean that Lou Dort should get away with it because Victor Wembanyama was able to get up. It should mean that we treat this the same. If Victor Wembanyama was out for the season, what would the suspension be? And it needs to be that Lou Dort is actually, this should end his season right here. You can't have this whatsoever. And the NBA has to curb this to where that players aren't trying to injure other players. I don't care about physical play. I encourage physical play. Even the players that are annoying and trying to get under the other player's skin, I'm fine with. You can't have intent to injure, though, not seriously injure. When I look at Dylan Brooks, and I'm just thinking specifically of when I think he hit Steph Curry in the stomach, that's not going to put Steph Curry out for the season. That might hurt him temporarily. But when you're going for another player's legs, this is a different story. Now, this is going to change the Spurs season. This is going to change the trajectory of Victor's career. This cannot be tolerated whatsoever. So this should be an automatic suspension for the season for Lou Dort. And let's actually go back. And we have here another clip. And this is from when the Spurs were playing the Warriors in the playoffs 8 years ago in 2017. And here we have Zaza Pachulia going in and undercutting Kawhi Leonard. And you can see this was on purpose. He took 2 steps in to make sure he got under Kawhi Leonard. Now we know the NBA has targeted this, and what's happened is we've actually got it's actually had a counter effect in that what happens now is players are trying to make it look like they've been undercut when they really haven't. So they're abusing the system here. But it's the intent to injure that needs to be taken out of the game. And so, yes, players should be able to land, but players should also not abuse this and try to fall down. Now you see players falling down every time a player comes near them when they're taking a jump shot. That's not the intent here, but we do need to see these types of play taken out of the game because here you had, a really, just looking at this in terms of value, Zaza Pachulia was a 0 value player. Like he's just an end of the bench role player that really, his role here was injuring Kawhi Leonard. That's the biggest role he played in this series, and he did. And it's no, you can't, we don't know how this affected Kawhi's career. Kawhi was already injured, but of course this could have added to this. And so, I don't remember what came of this. Maybe a few games suspension for Zaza, but that's not enough. And so these type of players, they just need to be gone from the game. If you can't play the game in a way that doesn't present, um, in a way that doesn't cause other players to have a significant chance of getting injured, then you need to be out of the game. And so here, it doesn't matter whether you're not athletic enough. It doesn't matter whether or not you actually try to do it. We're not going to try to read your mind. We don't need to read your mind. If you're doing this type of play and you're putting a player in a position where they can, in this case, land on your foot, and roll their ankle, then you don't get to play anymore. And then the same thing with Lou Dort. If this is how you're going to play, then you don't get to play anymore. If he says, well, I didn't do it on purpose, well, whatever you were doing, it could have seriously injured Victor. So now you're out of the league. Right now, I would say we start with a year suspension, and then after that, if you do anything else again, then you get banned. And then that way, the player is much more careful with how they are with other players, and that's what needs to happen because Victor here, obviously taller, so when there's other activity going around his knees, he's more susceptible, or he could be more susceptible to being hurt. So it's just a very dangerous play, and there's no reason that Lou Dort should be in the NBA after this play. He should be out immediately, have a season to think about it, and if you want to do it again, then you don't get to play anymore. So dangerous. We've seen it before. I mean, the history only adds to it. 10 games isn't enough. 15 games isn't enough. A real message needs to be sent that this isn't tolerable. And this is one of those situations where it's not even a question. Like even in the NBA's own self-interest, you don't want to see a star go down. I mean, you don't want to see any player go down, but these stars are, Victor Wembanyama represents, let's say, $20 billion for the rest of his career. Do you really want to have Lou Dort come in and take him out, and then you suspend Lou Dort for 25 games and then walk away as if nothing happened? You can't have Victor Wembanyama get injured over something stupid like this. So this needs to be, Lou Dort needs to have action immediately taken against him. You can't have these types of dirty plays. I mean, there's just a completely dirty play. No place for it